Okay, so let's talk about one of the most chilling and, frankly, one of the most baffling unsolved mysteries ever. Imagine this. It's 1959. 9 incredibly skilled hikers go on an expedition deep into the Siberian wilderness, and they just never return. But what rescuers found where they were last seen was so deeply strange, so terrifying, that it's been haunting people for decades. This is the Dyatlov Pass incident.
First, you gotta picture the scene. We're talking Siberia, in the middle of a brutal Soviet winter. This is one of the most isolated, most unforgiving places on Earth. It's all deep snow, howling winds, and temperatures that will literally freeze you solid. This isn't a place for amateurs. It's a place that tests even the absolute best.
So, when the search party finally finds their camp weeks later, the very first clue makes zero sense. Their tent. It's been sliced open. But not from the outside like an animal or another person trying to get in. No, it was cut open from the inside.
And here's the thing you have to remember. These weren't just some weekend campers. These were highly trained, incredibly prepared mountaineers. And yet, something made them slash their way out of their only shelter and run out into a 30 below zero night without their coats, without their boots.
And that right there, that's the question that sits at the dark heart of this whole mystery. What in the world could be so terrifying that running out to freeze to death seems like the better choice? Okay, let's dive into this.
To really get a grip on this, we've got to start right where the search party did, at the scene itself, a silent, frozen campsite that held the very first pieces of this impossible puzzle.
All right, so it's February 26th. Searchers find the tent on a mountain slope that the local Mansi people call Kholat Shachol, which translates chillingly to Dead Mountain. And the scene is just wrong. The tent, as we said, is cut open from the inside, but not with wild, panicked slashes. The cuts are neat, methodical. Inside, all their warm clothes, their boots, their gear, everything they needed to survive, it's all just sitting there. And leading away from the tent are 9 sets of footprints in the snow. Some of them were wearing only socks, some were completely barefoot. They ran away from their only hope of survival.
So who were these people who would do something so illogical? To really understand how strange this is, you have to know just how skilled this crew was. Well, this trip was rated as a Category 3 expedition. In Soviet mountaineering, that was the highest, most difficult rating you could get. This was the big leagues. The team was mostly students, all smart, all capable, led by a guy named Igor Dyatlov. The point is, these people knew exactly what they were doing. They were experts in survival. And if you look at the timeline of their last days, everything seems perfectly normal. They kept diaries, they took photos, and in them, they're all smiling, laughing, having a good time. Everything was going just as planned. That is, until the night of February 1st. For some reason, they decide to set up their final camp on the exposed side of a mountain slope, which is a really strange move for hikers this experienced. And then, something happened. And this is what really gets me. This is the final entry from their group diary, written just hours before it all went wrong. It's hard to imagine such a comfort in the wilderness. Does that sound like a group that's scared? Or on the verge of panic? No way! They felt safe. They felt secure. They had no idea what was coming.
So, from the tent, investigators started following those footprints, and the path they took led them to discoveries that were more and more disturbing. The condition of the bodies didn't solve the mystery, it made it 100 times worse.
Okay, so the bodies were found in 2 groups. The first 5 were found scattered between a large cedar tree and the camp itself, as if they were trying to get back. The official cause of death was hypothermia. Simple enough, right? Well, then they found the last 4, months later, buried under the snow in a ravine. And these were different. They had suffered absolutely devastating internal injuries. We're talking crushed ribs, fractured skulls, the kind of force the medical examiner said you'd only see in a high-speed car crash. But here's the kicker. There were no external wounds. Not a scratch, not a bruise on their skin. And the evidence just keeps getting stranger and stranger. One of the women, Lyudmila Dubina, was missing her tongue. Some of the clothes they were wearing were found to be radioactive. The survivors had clearly taken clothes from their friends who had already died, which tells you they were fighting to survive for a while. And maybe the most haunting clue of all, the last photo taken on one of their cameras, it's just a dark, blurry image, but it appears to show strange orange orbs of light in the night sky. So, with a pile of evidence this bizarre, this contradictory, how do you even begin to explain what happened? Well, the official attempts over the years have given us more questions than they have answers. The original Soviet investigation was shut down incredibly quickly, and their official conclusion that the hikers died from, and this is a direct quote, a compelling natural force. I mean, what does that even mean? It's so vague, it means nothing. Naturally, nobody bought it, and it just fanned the flames of a massive cover-up theory.
Okay, so fast forward to today. The most accepted scientific theory is something called a slab avalanche. Basically, a small, delayed block of snow that could have hit the tent. It might explain the internal injuries and why they had to cut their way out in a panic. But it leaves so many gaping holes. Why would these experts camp in an avalanche zone in the first place? Where was all the debris an avalanche would leave? And it sure doesn't explain the radioactive clothes, the missing tongue, or, the strange lights in the sky.
So here we are, over 60 years later, and this incident has left behind this incredible legacy of fear and fascination. The mystery isn't just a cold case file. For a lot of people, it feels like something is still active on that mountain.
I mean, think about it. Right after it happened, the Soviet authorities sealed off the entire area for 3 years. Then, reports started trickling in from other hikers who saw those same bright flying spheres in the sky around the same time. And even today, people who go to Dyatlov Pass report their GPS and radios going haywire, and this deep, unsettling feeling of just being watched. It's like Dead Mountain is holding on to its secret and it's not letting go.
But maybe the most heartbreaking part of this story comes from Yuri Yudin. He was the 10th member of the group, but he had to turn back early because of an illness. He was the sole survivor. He spent his entire life trying to figure out what happened, and he once said this: "If I had a chance to ask God one question, it would be, what happened to my friends that night?"
And so, that leaves us right where we started, with that one final, truly horrifying question. The evidence tells us a story of 9 rational, intelligent people making a completely irrational choice. They chose a slow, painful death from exposure over whatever was waiting for them outside that tent. We may never know for sure what it was, but it forces you to wonder, what could you possibly see? What terror is so great that freezing to death becomes the better option?